But we are not scared of anything that the other countries might throw at us.
It is 2023. The West has won the so-called Cold War. Much of Europe is a train wreck, struggling to keep recession at bay. The US has stepped away, independent, for over 7 decades. India is now the world's 5th largest economy in terms of GDP, above Italy and France, and well on its way to overtake Germany. New Delhi and Beijing lead the global south. But there is no end to the white man's burden. Coined by Rudyard Kipling, it certainly is an interesting phrase. The Englishman believed it was the duty of the civilized West to reform and manage the lowly, non-white population of the world. Famously racist, Kipling was likely also not very far-sighted or aware of the world's history. It is 2023, and Piyush Goyal, India's Minister for Commerce and Industry, has drawn the red line. On November 7th, Modi's minister accepted that the European Union's carbon tax was very concerning, but India was ready to take up the challenge.
I can assure you that India will not be accepting unfair taxes or unfair levies.
It is a battle for progress, development, environment, and steel. At the heart of all this drama is the European Union's Carbon Border Adjustment Mechanism, or CBAM.
And India is going to become major steel exporter and manufacturer. Why so? Because China is becoming weak.
Addressing the Indian steel industry, Union Minister Piyush Goyal assured the government was aware of the concerns surrounding the carbon tax. He also announced that India will take the lead and get other developing nations together to take up the issue at the World Trade Organization. The CBAM is the EU's initiative to decarbonize its economy by 2050. It is part of the wider world's attempts to control pollution by controlling carbon emissions. So why is CBAM a problem? Well, to clarify, EU's carbon tax is only a problem for developing nations. Various studies have shown that taxing carbon emissions will help control CO2 emissions, but the reduction will be marginal when compared to the global percentage. CBAM has in fact already resulted in cost burden on developing nations exporting goods to Europe. What this means is that EU industries will move away from importing goods from developing nations as they use more carbon-intensive processes than developed ones. In effect, this will have a direct impact on developing economies. Piyush Goyal also pointed out why the CBAM was unfair. Remember the Paris Agreement?
We are also conscious that they have to allow the common but differentiated responsibilities or provide the funding and technology support that was committed at Paris before the Paris Agreement took shape, which has yet to happen. We find the developed countries wanting in this direction.
Signed in 2016 by 195 nations, the Paris Agreement sought to provide a durable and practical framework to move towards the zero carbon goal. One of the major proposals of the agreement was that developed nations would provide technology and financial compensation to the developing world in lieu of forgoing emission-heavy industrial progress. Today, those empty words ring louder than ever as the developed European Union taxes developing nations without upholding its own end of the bargain. The CBAM has been criticized as another example of Western hypocrisy. The former colonizers leached nations dry off their resources, destroying ecologies and dealing an irreversible blow to the environment in their race to being industrial powerhouses. Now, when the rest of the world finally has a chance to develop, free from oppression, West has decided to school the world. Economist Akash Jindal explained to us how New India is built on the steel we produce and sell to the world.
Now, debt issues with China, housing issues with China, then China suffering from deflation, demand weakening in China. So India has a great potential and opportunity in becoming a big manufacturer and exporter of steel.
For the Indian steel industry, extra costs to Europe mean lesser profits. So, why should we care if some industrialists are not making hay? Simple. Trickle-down economics.
I would also look at the steel as a major source for our construction industry, given that India is going to add at least twice the number of buildings we already have in the country in the next 15 or 20 years. The construction is increasing at a scorching pace.
Already, nations like the US and Canada are mulling their own versions of carbon taxing. All of them have conveniently forgotten the decades of horrors wrought on the world to get up on their high horses.